Just checking to make sure I can hear myself.
I'm here. Okay, we're good to go. We'll just wait a few more moments to see who signs in to show up. It's 12:02 right now, and I'm excited for doing my very first live webinar with you all, and I'm so grateful that you are joining me today. If not live at 12 p.m., you'll get this recording and you can watch it at your leisure, so enjoy. And we'll just wait a few more minutes. Hi, Janelle. Thanks for joining us. I've got you unmuted for just a moment. Can you hear me? Let's see. Okay. For sake of staying on time so that my babysitter can leave at 1, I'm going to go ahead and get started. For anyone that comes in late, they can hop on in, revisit the call on their own time after this is over. So let's go ahead and begin at noon on a Tuesday. I'm sure everyone has had buzzing energy this morning, whether it's been getting the kids ready or maybe you've got them shushed somewhere in a corner. Whatever it is, we have all been out doing. So I want to take a moment to bring us inward and connect back with ourselves and the real reason we're here, which is to reclaim our own innate energy, to find that source from within, and to really just feel good and have more resources for doing so. So I invite you to find a comfortable seat. Hopefully you don't have too many distractions. We can turn the cell phone off, grab a sip of water right now, and just do what you need to do in order to be prepared for this brief meditation. So gently closing your eyes without trying to do anything, just simply close your eyes and notice where you are. Feel your body connected to the floor, connected to your chair. And just take a few breaths here with no intention other than connection and finding yourself here and now in this space. Now I invite you to lift up your feet, spread your toes wide, and place all four corners of each foot down onto the floor evenly. Feeling the source of connection with the floor, and underneath the floor, our great Mother Earth. And now you draw your shoulders open slightly to open up the heart. Draw your belly button back towards the spine and lift the crown of the head up towards the sky as you root your perineum and your sits bones into your chair. And begin to deepen your breath, practicing samavriti or even breathing, which means that for each inhale, the length of the inhale will match the length of the exhale. So taking a nice big breath in through the nose and exhaling through the nose. And inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. And now drawing your attention towards your feet that should be firmly planted on the ground. Imagine as though your feet are actually individual lungs. And that as you are breathing, you're opening up these feet, these lungs, and inhaling from the bases of your feet through the sits bones, the root chakra, Muladhara. And so with each inhale, breathe in through the feet, up the legs, and into the root chakra, the perineum, the sits bones. And as you exhale, send this energy back down towards your feet, back into the great source of energy, Mother Earth. One more time. Inhaling through the lungs of the feet, up through the legs, just touching the sits bones and the perineum, and exhaling that energy back into the earth. And next, as we inhale through the feet, up through the legs, and up to the womb center, your center of creation, Svadhisthana chakra. And exhaling from the womb center back down into the earth, kissing the earth with that sweet energy of your body, and knowing that you'll be receiving more energy with your next breath. And inhaling from those feet, those lungs, up through the legs, up to the womb center. Noticing it, feeling it, the womb space, the ovaries, the pelvic bowl, and exhaling that back down into the earth. Inhaling through the feet from our greatest resource of energy, up to the navel center, Manipura chakra, and exhaling back in towards your body, Samana Vayu, bringing that energy inward. So from your feet, breathing in through the feet, up through the legs, past the roots, past the womb, up into the navel center, and exhaling all of that divine energy right back into your body. And once again, from the feet, opening up the lungs of the feet. We're visualizing the feet as lungs, opening up into the energy of the earth. We're inhaling and drawing that energy up, 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 all the way through the root chakra, the womb center, the navel center, to the heart. And exhaling that energy right back into your own heart. Feel the warmth of that breath guiding you and nourishing you. And maintaining that awareness of the warmth in your heart, begin to visualize a halo above your head with the most divine, warm light. Feel the warmth of that light over your crown and visualizing that light opening up over you, getting grander and grander. And as you inhale, maintaining the connection of your feet to the earth, inhale the light, the warm light from your own personal halo down through the crown of your head, touching the third eye, through the throat, and exhaling that down into the heart space. Feel the warmth of this energy in this space. I invite you to feel the connection through your feet to the earth and the connection from your crown chakra and the divine light that is available to you at all times, this beautiful source of energy pouring into your body from both directions now. And take your hands and rub them together, create some friction in your hands, some heat, some warmth. And then take your hands and cup them over your eyes. Perhaps you use your fingers to touch the third chakra, or excuse me, the sixth chakra, our third eye. Just kissing it a little hello, like I know you're there. Thank you. And then blink your eyes open into the palms of your hands. A little bit more of a gentle way to reawaken after our meditation. And when you're ready, you can release your hands down to your lap and take in me on your screen, take in your surroundings and the room around you. And yeah, we're here now after a nice grounding meditation. I wanted to open up with that meditation, which I call a sourcing meditation, because energetically, we are able to pull energy from the earth, and we're also able to source energy from up above. So at any moment in time, this will be one of your tools where you can ground yourself into the earth, pull up that energy, and you can also take the light source energy from above and bring it into your body. I like to merge the two at the heart chakra, at the center of the body, where we have really the center of where the lower chakras meet the upper chakras is right here in the heart. So I love to visualize both coming into the heart and then filling my body from that place. So that is, there are different renditions of that meditation, and I took you through a short version of it, but you can go in depth as much as you like, touching areas of your body and the different chakras, using mantras, and really feeling into that space. So I invite you to use that when you are, well, really any day to just be connected, but especially when you're feeling tired. So welcome to Crack Your Energy Code. I am Kira Malone, founder of Malva Manifest. And I wanted to host this free workshop today to share with you all information about how to feel your true vitality, your radiance, your energy. I mean, in our culture and in our English language, we use this word energy, but it can mean so many different things. And it's hard to really explain the vastness of what energy is just simply by saying, oh, I'm low on energy, or I want more energy, I need more energy. Well, what is energy? So in order to kind of understand a little bit more about that, we have a few different definitions of energy that we can go into, which are actually, it's kind of funny. So what it really comes down to, if you're looking at it from kind of our cultural westernized perspective, is energy is the ability to do work. So everything, again, comes down to productivity and work. So we need energy to be productive and to work. There's another definition of energy that is power derived from resources. So we can take that and think, okay, well, we generate power to create energy. And what we use to generate that power are usually resources, natural resources, wind, solar, etc. But we also need to expand that definition to look at what the word resources means and understand that we, as humans, as spiritual beings, we have so many different resources available to us at all times that we can tap into through our own body, our own sovereignty, to build the energy. So I'd like to look at energy from that definition today. Another definition of energy I came across is the strength and vitality required for sustained physical and mental activity. I think that lands very well if you're a mom, especially, and just thinking about how we have so many things that we need to do every day, making breakfast, getting the kids places, just even remembering what's going on, who has to watch them, what paperwork is due, doctor's appointments, work life. I mean, it's crazy, right? And in order for us to actually perform that well and kind of check off our lists and do those things that we just have to do because we're human living in a very busy culture, we need energy. So the premise of my work is trying to help mothers find that energy within themselves at all times, from free resources and simple things that we can do for self-care, but mostly from an understanding of how our bodies actually work and really being able to empower ourselves with the knowledge of how to create within our own body, within our own mind and being. So I want to talk about women's energy as compared to men's energy. I'm going to take one of my earbuds out because it's kind of echoey. So hopefully you can hear me just fine. So we live in a patriarchal culture, and we have for about 5,000 years. Our history pretty much dates back mostly about 5,000 years, and that was the beginning of the patriarchy. Before that, there was a lot of emphasis on the spiritual and intuitive nature of women, and it was in some ancient documentations, it's a lot more prevalent that the female body, the female cycles, and all of these things were so much more reverent. They were honored. There were celebrations around them. And over the last 5,000 years, we have, as women, as a collective of women in our culture around the world, we have actually been trained out of that empowerment. So if you were born during this time, if you're watching this call, if you're even remotely intrigued by women's empowerment, the moon cycles, connecting with the seasons, herbs, essential oils, if you are even at all interested in that, there's a reason that you were born at this time, because we are all working as a collective to break some of those barriers and bring this wisdom back to people like me, to yourselves, to our children, our daughters especially. So kudos for all of us for doing this work. It's sacred, and I feel honored to do it. So tapping back into women's energy versus men's energy, because of the patriarchy, there's just been a belief that masculine is better than feminine, or masculine energy is better than feminine energy. So if we're talking about masculine energy, we're talking about the energy of activity and doing. That's also can be described in Chinese medicine through the word yang. You've seen the yin and yang, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And then female energy is described as more yin, and that's the action of intuition, of rest, of allowing, receiving, and less doing. So what we are trying to do here is bring more feminine energy into our lives and understand the feminine energy so that we can take the masculine energy and the feminine energy and actually have a balance for us to live productive, human, connected lives here, not just from a doing, goal setting, achieving perspective and checking everything off the list, but from this place of living and truly connecting with ourselves, connecting with our family, with our friends, the earth around us, the seasons. I mean, really the richness is in the feminine energy, the juicy richness. So we'll talk about that. I want to talk about a few things too before we get started with more of that stuff around women's energy versus male energy. The most important thing and the crux for all of this to understand is that female energy, women's energy, is cyclical, cycles, and male energy is linear. So we can take a look at this from a few different perspectives, but it's important to note that with male energy and masculine energy, we're looking at a more linear equation of, have plan, work towards plan, do plan, or set goal, work towards goal, achieve goal. With feminine energy, we're working in cycles. So we have different phases throughout those cycles that are more primed for different activities, for different opportunities to tune into our intuition. And that's what, if you had a chance to download Lunar Energy Flow from my website, it's a free download on there. This right here, we're going to talk about the energy flow and how to connect that to your life. So with the cyclical energy, sometimes when you introduce this information to women, they think, oh, are you going to tell me that I'm like naturally going to feel like crap for a couple of weeks? Like, that is so frustrating, right? So I can relate to that. But what I want to emphasize here is that with the cyclical nature, we have abundance. So female energy is both cyclical and abundant. So even though our energy might dip throughout the month, we also know that it's going to peak and we're going to feel like freaking awesome for a couple weeks. And that is the time of the month where we're going to like get after life, schedule meetings, go out with girlfriends, like just be out, like be seen, be heard, be our authentic selves, like unapologetically. So there's power in knowing that. And then the beauty is, if you know, okay, well, now I'm going to start to cycle back down to where my energy is a little bit lower. We know we have the confidence and the proof to say, well, okay, in a couple weeks from now, I'm going to have another time period where I just feel freaking great. So that's what I mean with the abundant energy. And over time, you know, the patriarchal way of thinking was that women are supposed to give. We're the givers, we're supposed to give. And if we're not giving, we feel guilty that we're not giving. That's just been ingrained in us. And that all kind of came to be because it was understood that we had this abundant source of energy. What we have come to realize, what I've come to realize as well in my own life, is that, yeah, we do have abundant energy, but we need to allow ourselves to receive more energy from those subtle forces, the earth, the divine within us, and then also just the community and the support around us. We need to have those energy sources to replenish us so that we can abundantly give. So part of the work that I do is helping us, one, drop the guilt about giving without allowing and receiving for ourselves. That's huge. That's huge for me. It's something I still work on. And then also just understanding that cyclical nature. So a couple other things about male versus female energy is that, you know, the women's energy is cyclical. It cycles every 27 and a half days, about every 28 days. And that is the same length as the moon cycle. So there's, you know, you might hear, okay, well, I'm on my moon time, or that was, you know, I'm on my moon. And you've probably heard that some women menstruate with the new moon and ovulate with the full moon. And we're going to talk about that. But simply from an energetic perspective, we have our hormones that are driving our own personal energetic cycle. And those are tapped into our menstrual cycle. And those cycle through about every 28 days, depending on how long your personal cycle is, or if you're on hormonal birth control or breastfeeding and things that interrupt the natural hormone cycle. With men, their hormone cycle every 24 hours, so they can rinse and repeat. I mean, if you've read, you know, like any book about productivity, or, you know, from a man about how, you know, how to have good habits so you can be successful. I mean, they're basically saying you need to live every single day of your life the same. Wake up at 5 a.m., you know, meditate, exercise, have your cup of coffee, have your conference call, the same thing every day. And that's a male way of thinking. With women, I mean, you may have tried to start your own, morning routine, or think, okay, I'm going to set my alarm, I'm going to get my ass up, and I meditate, I'm going to do my ab work, I'm going to take a shower all before the kids wake up. And that might last you like 3 days before you're exhausted. And that's because we don't need the same thing every day. So again, when we tap into this work, we're actually able to tune more into what our bodies are naturally telling us we need. And we can listen in from that perspective and make conscious choices, you know, throughout the month, throughout, you know, different even days of the week, so that we can really truly honor ourselves, our body, and our own cyclical nature. So fun little fact about with the moon, I mean, you might be thinking, okay, well, that sounds kind of voodoo weirdo about the moon affecting the women in the menstrual cycle. So the moon affects the tides, and it affects all water on Earth. So the most common way that we can, or excuse me, the most obvious thing that we can see are the tides of the ocean. There's a low tide and a high tide. The gravitational pull is what between the moon and the Earth is what causes the tide. So in times where the sun, the moon, and Earth are actually in alignment, which are going to be during a new moon and a full moon, those 2 times a month are when the tides are the greatest. So there's more fluctuation in the tide, they're more extreme when there's a full moon and a new moon, because the sun, Earth, and moon are in an alignment, and that increases the gravitational pull. So that's just a little fun fact for you. So if you take it from a global perspective of looking at the oceans, the tides, and the moon cycle, then we can take that inward to our own personal body of water, our own element of water, which is located in our, the Svadhisthana chakra. So we have our root chakra here, which is the perineum, and then our Svadhisthana chakra, which is the womb chakra, is right here located in the pelvis. And if you're not familiar with chakras, those are subtle energy centers in the body, wheels of energy. And sorry, let me check, Ellie. Oh, no problem. Come on back when you get a chance and finish the video and send me an email if you have any questions. Thanks for letting me know. All good. So back to the Svadhisthana chakra, I wanted to talk about how the element, each chakra has its own element. So the root chakra of the base chakra is the earth element, and then the Svadhisthana chakra, which is where our womb is located, our ovaries, our center of creation, the element for that is water. And if you look at, how our bodies are releasing the energy every month coming from the menstrual cycle, that is a liquid. So the moon, our bodies naturally too are 60% water. So we are feeling that gravitational pull as well through our own electromagnetic fields. And that's another reason that we are affected at the new moon and the full moon. So just some fun facts for you. And then if we, let's see, just checking my notes here to make sure I got everything I wanted to say about that. Thanks for your patience. Okay, I think that's pretty good. The one last thing I wanted to talk about before we jump into the lunar flow chart and some other self-care tips for you for boosting your energy is the nature of women's energy and men's energy. Both women and men pull in energy from the same ways, but women and men pull in different varying amounts of those energies, and they'll have those forces. So let me back up. There's two different kinds of forces that are involved with how we pull energy into our bodies. There's a centrifugal energy, which is energy that's coming from above us. If you remember from the meditation where I had light source coming above and flushing down to our bodies, that's the centrifugal energy that's going to come from above, and we're going to draw that just straight downward to the ground. Women actually have more centripetal energy than centrifugal energy, and that energy is coming from the ground, from Mother Earth, and drawing up into our bodies and cycling inward at different areas of our bodies. So it's drawing up from the earth and inward. And, I've read in one of my favorite books, if you don't have it, if you want to empower yourself about your health and all things women's health, this book, Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom, is like my Bible for women's health. And some of this information is in there. So check that out. It's by Dr. Christiane Northrup. She talks about how the Navajo have a tradition where they wear skirts. Women wear skirts because the skirt is actually helping to bring the energy from the earth and emphasize that centripetal energy up inward into the body. So I don't know if you ever just throw on a skirt or a dress and you start walking around and all of a sudden you've got a little bit more flair to your walk and you just feel more, feminine and empowered and maybe more beautiful. And that's just if you look at it from this perspective, you're bringing more of that earthly energy and that vibrance into your body, and then you're able to exude it more and you just feel great and you look great. So wear more skirts. I need to get a few more myself. So that's centripetal energy. And she talks about, Dr. Northrup in her book too, about how that force is also what's responsible for like our kids following us freaking around everywhere, where you're like on the toilet and somehow they're still hugging you and drawn to you. I honestly do not understand that from a practical perspective, but from this perspective of the centripetal energy, we are drawing our family to us and inward. So I'm actually leading this webinar right now, and my dog is plowed her way through the bedroom door and is lying right next to me. Happens with our pets too. Or for some reason, your husband is just wanting to like cuddle you at night and you're like, dude, get off. I am trying to sleep. Like, I can't sleep with you on top of me. And they're just like, oh, I just want to hug you. I'm like, not right now. You can thank the centripetal energy for that. But the cool thing about the centripetal energy, well, it's all cool really, is that we can tap into that energy at all times just by that sourcing meditation that we did in the beginning, where I had my feet open, we had our feet open and we were pulling our breath in through our feet as if they were lungs and drawing them up into our bodies. So we can do that with mindfulness and meditation, or we can just take our shoes off and go outside and walk on the grass, walk on the beach, step in nature. I mean, I remember at the peak of my postpartum depression, not the peak of it, but kind of coming out of it, and I was feeling really good, but there was still just something that was like just off. I wasn't totally myself. And then we went to the Sierra Mountains, and there was snow on the ground and the giant sequoia trees that are like 3,000 feet all, 3,000 years old. And I thought to myself, like, I just had this inkling I had to take my shoes off. I didn't care how cold it was. I took my shoes off, barefoot on the snowy ground, and I just started walking amongst the big trees with no shoes. And I just was visualizing bringing that energy of these ancient trees, the earth around them, and just bringing that into my body. And I promise you, like the next week, I was feeling more vibrant. You know, it wasn't just someone that had energy to get through the day. I was exuding vibrance. So just another self-care tip, take your shoes off and walk barefoot on the ground. There's a reason for it. And if you like facts, you can go back to the centripetal energy that I just spoke about. So if you're someone like me that wants to prove everything. Okay, moving on, my friends. I want to talk a little bit more about energy from a tantric yoga perspective, which is one of the backgrounds that I have. We have our physical energy, and we have our subtle energy, and then we have our spiritual energy. Our physical energy is like, okay, we're going to eat this food, we're going to digest it, we're going to turn it into, you know, energy output. We have our bodies, which are energy, that are, you know, forms of matter. And it's really our humanness is this energy. The subtle energy are the non-visible flows of energy and matter that are adding vibrance and really making us conscious beings. So the subtle energy layers encompass the chakras that I've referenced a few times already, the wheels of energy that are around our body. And those wheels of energy are connected very closely to physical areas in our body. And so through those wheels of energy, we have emotions, we have belief systems, we have all these things that are out there that seems like they're in the ethers, or maybe we think they're in our mind, but they're really in our subtle energy field. And any disturbances in that subtle energy field, for example, feelings of guilt or shame that translate to issues in the womb chakra, or feelings of insecurity or perhaps not feeling safe, that translate to issues in our root chakra. And that could be money issues. It could be, problems that we had growing up with parents. We have things like our confidence that are coming in that Manipura, that navel center chakra. And so all of these beliefs and these emotions and all of that is actually alive and well within the subtle energy body. And when we have disturbances in those subtle energy bodies, they can manifest as physical ailments, or they have physical manifestations. So, for example, a lot of women that have had sexual trauma, or maybe have guilt around their, pleasure or sensuality, often develop like PCOS, or have problems with menstruation and other things like that. So that's just a little tie-in to show you how the subtle energies that we'll talk about with the chakras and the electromagnetic fields and all that can actually be very closely connected to physical energy. Just a side note, on September 10th, I'm going to start my online course, More Energy Mama, which is going to be a 5-week program. And within each week, we're going to have a live call, which will be recorded and sent out after for those who can't make it. And we're going to work on physical energy in the body with a subtle energy perspective. So while I'll be giving you very practical advice with like how to rebuild nutritional insufficiencies from pregnancy and postpartum, I'll also be giving you mindfulness, meditation, and ways to balance the energy centers of your body to help promote healing and vitality. So that's where all the juicy stuff comes in. It's totally my passion to merge the two, and I'm excited about that. So little note on the chakras. So now we're going to hop into the actual menstrual cycle and the moon cycle. And I want to show you how to use this chart, if you're on my email list or you want to get on it, just go to, I've sent out the link, sorry, with the emails. But if you're not on the email list, send me an email and I'll get you connected to the right place for the chart, and or just sign up for the mailing list and then you'll get the free download. So the lunar energy chart is my way of illustrating our female energy cycle throughout the month. So although our energy is cyclical, we have cyclical energy throughout the day, which I won't talk about in this webinar, but we will talk about in session 1 with More Energy Mama. We also have seasonal flow, which is on this chart as well. So I'll touch on that briefly. And then, you know, if you really get into astrology and the cosmos, you know, there's cycles every 7 years and, you know, on and on and on. I mean, we're just basically, you've heard it before, history repeats itself. We're just one big cycle, 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 cycle. So we're going to focus specifically on the lunar cycle and the menstrual cycle and how to maximize your energy based off of this information. So, and I apologize if I'm talking really fast, but my babysitter has to leave at 1 o'clock and I'm trying to cover a lot of information. So normally I try to slow it down a little bit, and I apologize if I'm just diarrhea of the mouth at you. With the lunar flow and the menstrual flow, the start of the cycle is actually after you've already had your menstruation. So that's considered the end of the cycle. The beginning of the cycle is correlated to the season of spring. It's your springtime week. So before I dive into that too much, actually, let me just give you an overview. So within the 28-day cycle, each one of these notches represents a day in the cycle. And you can see I have the number of the days there and then the corresponding season. So within the 28-day cycle, about 7 days, you're going to be in a different phase, and that's going to affect your energy, your productivity, your emotional state, all the above, your mentality, and those are all corresponding here. So we start out as the maiden phase. With this chart, I have an archetype for each phase too. Fun. So with the maiden phase and springtime, we are coming into being. If you think of the actual spring, we've got new growth, we've got wildflowers blossoming, and it's just this time of like new opportunity, inspiration. I live near Santa Barbara, so we really don't have seasons here. I mean, we'll get like the wildflowers which bloom, which is amazing. But other than that, we're not super tied into the seasonal living. If you live in an area like Ithaca, New York, where my mother-in-law lives, I mean, they come out of a really cold, barren winter, and then it's like, oh, spring, can't wait. So let's take the oh, spring mentality every month with that phase of our cycle, which is the maiden cycle. You're going to feel more energetic, more youthful, more inspired. It's a fantastic time for dreaming up ideas and just brainstorming and feeling like you're unstoppable. But the energy during this time period is going to be really high. So you're going to start to come off your period where you feel tired, maybe grumpy. You don't want to be out in public. I hear you. And you'll all of a sudden be like, oh, I think I do actually want to go hang out with my girlfriends. Or yes, I will do that play date. Yes, you know what? Okay, sure. I'll meet you at the park. Or, you know, maybe you actually just want to get some more work done, or maybe you just want to go to yoga. Like, however it works out for you, you're going to start to feel your energy building during that post-menstrual phase, the beginning of your menstrual cycle. During that time, hormonally, the estrogen levels and the testosterone levels as well are building and building and increasing until the point of ovulation, which is adding to your energy, it's adding to your sex drive, it's adding to your ability to think critically, sharply with your mind. It's all connected, and you probably will have a pretty optimistic outlook on life because you've got more energy, which is really the basis of the work I do. It's like, hey, like we all want to enjoy our lives, but it's really hard to enjoy your life when you're like exhausted and you just keep peeling yourself up for the next activity. I get it. I've been there, and I still get back there sometimes, and I got to help myself get back. So with that maiden phase, you're going to be more delighted, more optimistic, more pleasurable to be around. There's going to be a hop and a bounce to your step, and you just know you're going to have energy. that takes you into what I call the mother archetype, which is your time of ovulation. And that time of ovulation correlates in the moon cycle to the full moon. Energies are very high, they're very active, they're masculine. And when I say masculine, I mean, you know, your external energy. There's productivity about you. There's kind of this a desire to be out with people, be seen, to communicate, to be an expression of yourself outwardly. And then doing. So that's a really great time when you're ovulating around the full moon. When energies are high, it's a super great time to like go on vacation with your family, schedule a meeting, negotiate with your boss. Maybe that's the day that you take the volunteer position at your kid's school because you've got to do it at some point. So you just want to choose a time where you're actually going to feel good and not show up like, I don't want to be here. Okay. Or maybe that's just me. Full disclosure. Okay. So that's a time where you're unstoppable. I mean, if you want to go ask for a raise or like march in and try to put on a workshop like I'm doing right now, I'm ovulating right now. The full moon is on Thursday. I feel great. Therefore, I scheduled this webinar on the day where I knew that I was going to have energy and feel really good. So that's just one example of how I can take my own energy cycles in my life and bring them to a practical place. Like, okay, I know I'm going to feel good that day, so I'm going to schedule this big webinar. If I schedule this webinar in 2 weeks from now when I was on my period, I would have bags under my eyes. I would feel like crap. I wouldn't want to be here, and I wouldn't be bouncing out of my seat. I'd just be like, oh my God, you guys, so fucking tired. Okay, sorry, I cussed. So that's the peak of your energy is around that ovulation time. That's also when your estrogen levels and your testosterone levels peak as well, which is all part of how you can get pregnant and ovulation and all of that, but it also increases your sex drive. So you're feeling good, okay, when you're ovulating during the full moon. I will say, if you do have a really big meeting or something, to schedule it not exactly on the date of the full moon itself, because energies are so high that things can get a little bit chaotic. So if you have a big meeting, I would shift that maybe to the day before, the day after the full moon. Just a note. I do like to weave in the cosmos into my planning as well. So after we have this time where we're just, okay, we went through our maiden phase, which is the waxing phases of the moon. As the moon is going larger in visibility in the sky, it is waxing. And that is the time period of our month where we have more energy. Okay, we're like yang, excuse me, I said it wrong. My acupuncturist would be pissed. Yang energy, masculine energy, the energy of external activity, of doing, of going to yoga, of going for a run and actually still having energy after. You're just like taking on life. Feels really good. As soon as the ovulation period is over, and as soon as the moon starts to wane, decrease visibility in the sky, our energy levels start to decrease. We have our estrogen and our testosterone levels are dropping. And then we have our progesterone levels, which are starting to come around the corner towards trying to hold on to a pregnancy if we were to get pregnant from a menstrual perspective, or they kind of build and then they wane out and start your period. So it depends, if you're pregnant, that obviously is going to shift the hormones a little bit. But coming into the post-ovulation period, which is the luteal phase, it's more driven by the progesterone, we enter what I call the matriarch archetype. And the matriarch is the wise woman. She's like, been there, done that, went out, lived my life. Now I'm going to figure out what's super important to me. I'm going to take some things off my list. I'm just going to finish some things up. And then I know my energy is going to start dropping towards my time of menstruation. So the wise woman time, what is related most closely to like third quarter moon as the moon is waning, is a good time to start thinking about how you're going to peel things off your schedule, how you're going to rest a little bit more, and how you're going to slow down. With the decrease in estrogen that happens during this part of the cycle, we actually have an increase in emotions like anxiety, anger, frustration. So you can look at it from a perspective of some people like, oh yeah, that's PMS. PMS is a little bit different than the natural ebbs and flows of the female energy cycle. I mean, true PMS, if you're like cramping and having really shitty periods and you feel like crap for weeks on end, that's actually not healthy. And it's a sign that we have hormonal imbalances in the body and your body's not as vital as it needs to be to flourish, because your period shouldn't be painful. So that's just a little bit of a side note, that your period should not be painful. And if it is, or if you've got a lot of like spotting leading up to it or clotting during it, all of those aspects of the menstrual cycle are indicative of hormonal imbalances or other imbalances in the body, often nutrient insufficiencies, hormonal imbalances, sleep disturbances, and all these things that are affecting what, there's one author, I can't remember the name of the book, but the book is called The Fifth Vital Sign. And what she demonstrates throughout this entire book is the power of a healthy menstrual cycle and how to get that back. So a little bit of a side note there about PMS versus actual normal, hormonal drops and mood swings. So during that time, the element that we really want to focus here, and this is all on the chart, so if I'm not covering all of it here, you can go back to the chart, is water. We want to surround ourselves with the element of water, which is very nourishing, very relaxing, very flow-like, in order to start nurturing ourselves to prepare for the menstrual cycle, where we're going to kind of feel like crap for a couple of days, okay? But the most important thing to know here from an energy perspective is that after you ovulate, about 3 days, for about 3 or 4 days after that, you're going to feel great. And then your energy is you'll notice an energy drop. And you're like, okay, well, here it is. I need to slow down. I'm not going to stay out late. I'm not going to schedule a volunteer activity. I'm not going to go out for a girls' night. Maybe I'll skip that, whatever that's going to keep me up, and I'm not going to get my rest. And we want to start nurturing ourselves, taking more baths, going for walks in nature, starting to replenish the energy that we just outputted for the first 2 weeks of our cycle, where we were super feeling great and out and about. Now we need to start replenishing that for the next cycle around. And that's the abundance, is knowing like, okay, my energy is going down, but I know it's going to come back up. So I'm going to do whatever I can right now to rebuild that so I feel super great 2 weeks from now. So and we have cycles and just swinging around. The final stage of the menstrual cycle is going to be the actual menstrual period. And that is correlated on the moon cycle with the new moon, or the dark moon. So the idea with the menstrual cycle energetically is that you're very low physical energy. You have very low desires to be out and about in the world doing things, chit-chatting, volunteering, working, running meetings, leading a webinar. Like, you're just not going to want to do it. And there's a reason for that. The reason that we are energetically being called to rest during that time period is because we actually are more in tune with our higher selves, our intuition, and our inner guidance during our menstrual cycle or the new moon, however we look at it, and I'll talk about that next. So instead of like, okay, I'm going to shove these tampons in, I'm going to take some Advil, and I'm going to go conquer the world and feel like a badass. Instead of doing that, which I know our culture promotes, I do, and I used to be that. I would, even though I was on my period, I'd be out like training for my track meets, and there's all these commercials out there like, don't let your period stop you, and hey, blah blah blah, don't let it stop you, keep going, and here's all the products you need in order to keep going. I'm trying to get you to rebel from that and actually give yourself permission to slow down. And when you slow down and you take your activity and your intentions inward, that's where we start getting really more in tune with our inner guidance. If you have a religious belief, it's a wonderful time to pray more and then listen more for that guidance. So, if you don't have a spiritual if you don't have a religious belief, that's fine. You can simply just look inward towards yourself and inner reflection. What's coming up for me right now? So it's important to sit down, meditate, rest more, pray more, journal more, and do things during the time of the period, most especially those first 3 days. I'd say like the day before and the 2 to 3 days after. that is a prime time for going inward and just getting downloads from the universe, God, source, creation, however you want to define that. That's the time. So I think all of us want to live more intuitively. I believe most people understand that intuition is the real thing, but in order for us to really tap into that, we've got to go inward. And if you want to maximize the time period of when you can go inward, I mean, talking about productivity, like let's be productive with our intuition. But hey, I mean, come on, we live in America, so we're going to think that way. That's the time, new moon, menstruation. So it's more important to not shove the tampon in, take the Advil and go to hot yoga, or go train for your marathon, or go to the gym and do like a HIIT CrossFit workout. It's more important to slow down, do things like restorative yoga, gentle walks, a light swim, and really just own that time to replenish. Because even though I know we're all badass women, and I know we are, and we can push through things, we've been doing that for 5,000 years. The reason we don't want to is because when we can truly take that time to rest and recuperate and listen inward, then when our energy starts to build 3 days after our period starts and the estrogen levels start to rise again, and we're coming back into that spring phase of our monthly cycle, we're going to have even more energy, more creativity, more inspiration. That's all coming from that intuitive guidance that we just got while we were on our period and decided to listen in. So without taking up too much more time on that, there's plenty of information front and back on the free gift that you guys get. I love how the colors turned out. So please email me questions if you have any on that. I want to touch really quickly on if you have a cycle, if you don't have a cycle, if you just had a baby, if you're lactating, you know, all that kind of stuff. So how you can incorporate this information, because a lot of women are actually on hormonal birth control. And if you're on hormonal contraceptive, or if you're on a hormonal IUD, then your hormones are going to be affected, and your period is not going to truly be indicative of your energy cycle. So I encourage you, if you are on a hormonal birth control or a hormonal IUD, I highly encourage you to keep tabs, if you will, on the moon cycle and follow the moon cycle that's on this chart. So if it's a full moon, you'll know that you're going to have more energy, be more vibrant. If it's coming up to a new moon, you're going to know that you're going to be more tired, maybe feel like crap, maybe be more moody. I always like warn my husband, like, just so you know, if I start bitching, it's my divine right. Ah! Okay, sorry. I love my husband. He's pretty good at dealing with me. So if you are, again, if your hormones are affected and you don't have a natural, non-hormonally influenced, non-artificially hormonally influenced cycle, then that's going to be following your own personal cycle. And then if you are for any reason, menopausal, not having a period, hormonal birth control, just had a baby, pregnant, you're going to want to look more at the moon cycle. From a perspective of women being postpartum, I want to touch on a few things, more energetic things here before we close. Actually, we're already a little bit over time. I just have so much fun sharing information. I go over. From a postpartum period, when we have our baby, it's a very dynamic, creative time. There's a bit of yin and yang. You know, there's the creation and the energy that goes into creating the baby, but then there's also just this like allowing and receiving this inner knowing that the baby is going to grow and is going to be healthy, and it just does its own thing. And that's a miracle, right? So when we give birth, now we come into this period of time, and a lot of our culture expects us to just like hop right back to life. And they've made this idea that like if you're like a good mom, or you're like good at it, or you're successful, if you're able to hop back into your previous lifestyle, life choices, whatever, as fast as possible. Like I had one mom message me the other day, 2 weeks postpartum, like, oh, I kind of want to go back to yoga. You think that's a good choice? And I'm like, honestly, it's no. But I know enough now to know that if we do not take our postpartum period seriously as a time of rest, a yin time, if you will, then those energetic imbalances from not allowing ourselves a period of rest and recovery and a deep dive inward and bonding with the baby, and we can We can talk about that forever, but for this purpose only. If we do not take the sacred 40 days postpartum, the 6 weeks, the fourth trimester, if you will, to really just stay inward and allow ourselves to recover and receive more support and receive more nourishment and allow ourselves to be nourished, those energetic imbalances are going to stay with us. And they're just going to compound. So similar to within the month, if you plow through your period and keep going, you're going to eventually get exhausted and burnt out. The burnout leads to a lot of health problems. The health problems lead to chronic health and diseases. There's a reason for all of this. I'm not just like the voodoo lady, talking about all crazy stuff. There's a reason for it. So if you didn't allow yourself that time, if you've already had kids or older, and you didn't give yourself that time, a lot of the imbalances that you're experiencing could have come from that initial postpartum period and not allowing yourself to replenish the way that you deserve. So in the More Energy Mama course, which is going to start September 10th, we're going to run for 5 weeks, I'm going to take the top 4 pillars that I work with moms on for rebuilding the physical energy and the subtle energy that I find are the most important for replenishing the mother with the vital energy sources. We're going to cover rebuilding our relationship. We're going to rebuild our relationship with sleep and rest. And I'm going to give you easy tips and practices and meditations for that, as well as facts for those of you who like facts or need to explain to your husband why you need to do less at a certain point in time. I'll give you the facts. Don't worry about that. The second pillar, we talk about what I call functional nourishment, which is really nourishing our body. So we want to talk about nutrition, of course, but we're also going to talk about other things that we consume that either nourish us or deplete us, and how we can assimilate or digest all of that which we consume. So that is most obvious with the food that we eat, and there's a really important time period at postpartum to replenish the body with easy to digest, nourishing foods, to correct for a specific imbalance that happens in the body after having babies. And if we don't correct for that right after we have babies, we still have it. And that balance is called a vata imbalance. And it leads to more brain fog, anxiety, nervous system disorders, throat, thyroid issues, and all these things. So in functional nourishment, we'll talk about how to replace some of the nutritional insufficiencies, and we'll talk about those imbalances that have happened in the body energetically and physically, depleting you, so that we can nourish you functionally and get you on the right path to have real vital health. I don't operate from the body is just a source of pain and disease model. I operate from our body is like a sovereign host of spirit model, and we want it to feel freaking good. And the better it feels, the more connected we're going to be with our intuition, with our mother's intuition, with our own authenticity, and that's when the real vitality comes into play. So side note. The third week, we're going to talk about conscious movement and mindfulness. There's a lot of misinformation out there about women's pelvic health, core health, how to exercise postpartum, proper alignment. You see women walking around, especially yogis. They're walking around and we're like tucking our bum. You guys know what this leads to? It leads to like prolapse and other organ problems. So we're going to talk about proper alignment. We're going to talk about exercises that target true core health, diastasis recti, if you've heard of that. Maybe you don't even know you've had it. And we're going to talk everything conscious movement so that you can really embody your body, right? It's going to feel good. And then the fourth pillar we're going to go over is cultivating community and support. We all know the phrase, it takes a village. We also are all pretty aware that we don't really have a village. We're separated from our families. All of our friends with kids are super busy. We don't want to bother anybody. So in this pillar, we're going to work on the energetic bounds that are keeping us from having the support that we need, that we deserve to truly flourish in the flow of motherhood. We're also going to work on some exercises to help you appreciate the support that you already have and help manifest more support in your life. We'll go over good communication skills for your husband or for other people, setting boundaries, like all kinds of things. And then the fifth week, we're going to have a live wrap-up call so we can just kind of riff-raff back and forth. And I'm going to be doing the whole program with you. There's going to be a Facebook group that will be private to everyone that's on the account. And I have a special price, early bird price, that is going to end on Thursday, August 15th, the day of the full moon. for just $97, the regular price is $147. For $97, you can join the More Energy Mama group training program. It's going to be a lot of like this, part women's circle, part educational, part just like feel good modalities, self-care. I know that's such a buzzword, but real self-care is free. It's a myth that self-care is expensive or exhausting. So we're going to break that down, and we're going to give you tips to like really feel good. But the most important thing is we're going to have a sense of community about it too. You know, we have someone to talk to and bounce ideas back and forth, you know, someone to practice just vocalizing your truth with. And that to me is powerful in and of itself. So if you are interested in joining, I'll send an email out with this recording, but if you go to www.mamamanifest.com/group, and there's more information there. And yeah, I hope you'll join me for that. So little plug before we wrap up with some easy self-care tips and for boosting your energy. So I want to just talk real quick about like morning routine. I think there's a lot of, I talked about it earlier, but misconceptions of like, okay, you have to wake up by 5 a.m. every morning and have the same routine every day, and then you'll feel amazing. I think the most important thing is that we just get our bodies to wake up without coffee, because that's false energy. I think a couple days ago, I was on a girls' trip with my kindergartner, my friend's soon-to-be kindergartner, and I think I had coffee 3 times on Sunday leading up to my moon circle on Sunday night, because I was so tired and I was schlepping everyone around, and it didn't give me any energy. The last 2 days I've been caffeine free and I feel better. But anyway, it's all about how we work the body for our benefit. So a little bit of free self-care stuff in the morning. Hold on one second, I forgot something. Oh, it's over here. Some quick ways to wake up your energy in the morning. One of my favorite ways is to have a dry brush, which is very cheap. You can get it online, Thrive Market, health food store. And this actually helps stimulate the energies of the body. It helps detoxify your body, which is also important for creating more energy. And if you want to buy one of these, Whole Foods, wherever you get one, they're like $10 or less. You can take them and you want to start at your feet, and you want to like brush the bottoms of your feet, and you want to brush up towards the heart from your legs, etc. And then you always want to brush to the heart. So if you start doing your arms, we're going to swipe up towards the heart. I always like to get my throat. I feel like I have so much energy in my throat, so I always get that. I can get my face. And anyway, dry brushing in the morning is a way to really stimulate your body. It stimulates the release of toxins. It stimulates the digestive system. It stimulates all kinds of metabolism, and it just helps get you going, and it feels really good. So that's one tip that's fantastic for the morning. Another tip I have for you is another Ayurvedic self-care tool. This is called a tongue scraper, and again, you can get these kind of anywhere. If you shop on Amazon, you can get them there. Thrive Market, your local health food store, Whole Foods. And in Ayurvedic, they believe that toxins can kind of throughout the night settle in your mouth. And so one of the ways that we can help release the body of excess alma or sluggishness in the body is to scrape them out. So before you brush your teeth, when you wake up in the morning, you'll simply have your tongue scraper, and you'll open out your tongue. There's going to probably be like some yucky film on there. You're going to take the tongue scraper and scrape it several times from front to back like this. Oh my gosh, see all that grossness? Okay, just going to put that to the side for now. Okay, so you're going to scrape it about 10 to 12 times. Just keep rinsing it off, scraping it, rinsing it off, scraping it to get rid of some of the toxins in the body. That's going to help boost your energy. Some other ideas even if you like to drink coffee, I highly recommend that you start your morning with at least 1 warm glass of water and some lemon, or even just a warm glass of water to help replenish your body and rehydrate your body before you hop over to the caffeine, which is dehydrating. And we'll talk about caffeine in the More Energy Mama. I still drink coffee. I actually grow coffee as a primary source of income. I'm a California coffee grower, which is like totally funny because I go on coffee detoxes all the time. But I love it. So I totally get it. No, you don't need it, but it is delicious. Okay, just a plug. And then meditation and breath work. And if you sit down with the idea that you're going to meditate and do breath work for like 25 minutes, your kids are going to wake up, you're going to get pissed, you're not going to actually get your practice in, and it's going to be frustrating. So my goal is usually to just do 1 to 5 minutes of breath work or meditation or both in the morning. And just simple things, even just sitting there and taking a few intentional breaths. You could open a window and listen to the morning birds, things like that, and just allow that to be your meditation. But it's really all about coming back into your bodily experience and having a moment to yourself to ground before the day begins. And that alone is going to boost your energy. In More Energy Mama, we're going to go over tons of each time we'll have different meditations and breath work, and you'll be able to incorporate all of those into your own personal toolkit for feeling really good. But another really important thing to do is to catch the morning sunlight. This was easier for me to do before kids, but now with kids, it's like I'm waking up and then it's, quick, do the thing, make the oatmeal, make the lunches, get out the door. And there's just something about the magical morning light that helps trigger our hypothalamus and our circadian rhythm to help just balance our energy more throughout the day. So if you can't go outside, you can at least open your blinds. If you live in an area where there's not a lot of sunlight, or even where I am in the morning, it's very foggy on the coast. And so there's light therapies and light boxes that you can use. But just as a general rule of thumb, try to catch a little bit of that morning light, before 8 a.m., before 9 a.m. to help your body know that it's time to awaken for the day. As we move down through the afternoon, there's different practices that we can do that are, again, free self-care practices for boosting your energy in the afternoon. We all naturally have an energetic drop around 2 or 3 p.m. every day, and it's easy to reach for more caffeine or more sugar or more snacks during that time. But as you know, that's actually not a great time or not a great tool to sustain the energy. So again, we can use breath work and meditation. I'm going to teach you one easy breath work before we go to help with that. We can rest, lie down for even 5 minutes. I had one client last year I worked with where, she had about 20 minutes in between workday and picking up her kids. And so she started laying on the floor after our calls, like a big starfish, for 5 minutes before she picked her kids up. She's like, I feel so much better. So even just lying down for 5 minutes, and I'll show you one of my favorite ways to lie down is called legs up the wall pose, or Viparita Karani in yoga. And they say that if you do this pose for 15 minutes, it's the equivalent of 2 hours of sleep. So that alone is worth giving it a try. You can look it up online. I'll send out a link, but just for the regular, just for a quick tutorial, you're going to come across a wall, slide yourself down the wall, put your bum on the floor, and then you're going to swing your legs up and around. And then just simply rest here with your feet in the air for as little as 2 to 5 minutes. I mean, you can obviously stay longer if you want to. And then to come out of it, you'll bring your knees towards your chest, turn to the side, and then use your hand to prop your body up so it's more ergonomically safe that way, and really good if you have diastasis recti, like most mamas. So that alone is an afternoon energy pickup tool. You can do other things like handstands and other more crazy inversions too, which are going to boost your energy, but I'm not going to bust into a handstand here right now. I'm trying to, it's all good. And then at bedtime, there's other things you can do. Of course, mindfulness and meditation and breath work are always going to be a tool throughout any part of your day for this. But there's things that you really want to focus on, like powering down, turning off the lights, turning off electronics before bedtime, and getting to bed on time, usually by 10 or 10:30, to help keep that circadian rhythm in place so that your body knows it's time to sleep. And then in the morning, it knows it's time to wake up. And having babies really knocks our circadian rhythm out of place because we're up all night with the feedings, around the clock, and we just kind of lose track of like the natural flow of the day, such as our ancestors had when they would wake up with the sun and go to bed with the moon, or go to bed when the sun goes down. So we want to do a lot of work around retraining ourselves to get back into that cycle of the day and the natural rhythm. So I'm going to leave you with one energy enhancing breathwork exercise. It's a tantric yoga breathwork exercise called Nadi Shodhana. And we're going to breathe simply through our right nostril. The right nostril is associated with the masculine energy. So it's the energy of activity and kind of waking ourselves up. So I'll teach you guys this again in more Energy Mama from a more yogic perspective, but simply from an energetic perspective and on the go, we're going to just take our thumb, take your left thumb, and press there's kind of a bone here at the base of your nose. Go ahead and press that in. And you're going to simply inhale through the right nostril and then exhale through the left. Inhale through the right. Exhale through the left. Inhale divine warm light through the right. Exhale fatigue, tiredness, exhaustion through the left. Inhale through the right. Exhale through the left. And last time, inhaling through the right. Exhaling through the left. And return to normal breathing. If you closed your eyes, go ahead and blink them open. And because for the sake of time, I don't have time to go into much more of that at the moment. I've already been over what I wanted to be, which is kind of common with me. I just love to share information. I would love to hear from you. Send me an email, kira@mamamanifest.com. The More Energy Mama group online program starts Tuesday, September 10th. It will run for 5 weeks every Tuesday. So that goes through the beginning of October. And we're going to do a lot more of this, give you a lot more information and tools so that you can finally have energy in motherhood, reclaim that sovereign right to actually feel good, and therefore you're going to have a more joyful experience with kids, and everyone's going to benefit from it. That centripetal energy I talked about in the beginning, it's that energy of the mom really being the center of the people around her, the woman being the center. And so as we can really work on ourselves and rebuild our vitality and rebuild our energy and rebuild our connection to our inner guidance and so on and so forth, we're drawing our family members in on that experience with us. We're benefiting everyone. So I hope that alone would help you drop any guilt about taking care of yourself and putting you first. For now, I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and thank you so much for joining in today, for watching this recording if you weren't able to join us live, and I can't wait for the next one, September 10th. Bye now. I can figure out how to end it.